Wait, before you dislike and click away, I'm not talking about you. Well, probably. Guys, the Stranger Things fanbase has a huge problem. Specifically, they're all really stupid. Let me explain what I mean. The vocal majority of the fanbase has got to be full of some of the worst takes I've seen for any show ever. I mean, just look at this thread here. Or this one. Or this one. Or literally any comment section about Stranger Things on YouTube. It's ridiculous. But in case those weren't enough to convince you, I've broken it down into 3 main categories that we'll be going into much more detail on in this video. Those being a lack of understanding of what made Stranger Things special in the first place, a lack of understanding of good and competent screenwriting, and fan theories. We will be spending a lot of time on the fan theories. Now, this video, we've got quite a bit of ground to cover. There is so much to dive into and to break down. It's actually a lot more in-depth than you'd think. So without further ado, we're just gonna get straight into our first topic. Now, for those of you who don't know already, Stranger Things is a supernatural horror/thriller set in the 80s. Its first season released on Netflix in the summer of 2016 to a lot of fanfare from audiences and critics alike, and for good reason. The first season of Stranger Things was really well written, shot, acted, and edited piece of media, full of compelling characters and satisfying writing. Nearly every scene from each split narrative moved the plot forward while simultaneously giving each character much-needed backstory and development that eventually pulled together into a spectacular finale, made even more satisfying by all of the setup that came in the 7 episodes before it. The show quickly grew a massive, and I mean a massive, online following within the first week of its release. And with it came its fan base, which is the subject of today's video. Of course, with the way the first season ended, it was clear the directors never intended on making a second season, at least not one that was a direct continuation of the story we saw in season 1. They even mentioned this in interviews after the show's initial success, wanting to make an anthology-style series following different characters and new threats each season, but all set in the same universe, with maybe occasional cameo appearances from characters from previous seasons. But the fans and Netflix did not share this same vision, and instead the directors were hired back on to direct season 2 in a much shorter time frame than the first. Because of this, when season 2 aired in the fall of 2017, a mere year and a half after the first season, there were a lot of elements from season 2 that felt either rushed or rehashed from the first season. But at least the show still managed to retain its identity. Though it was a flawed season, it introduced 2 of the best characters in my opinion in the form of Dacre Montgomery's Billy and Sadie Sink's Max, who would go on to become 2 of the most compelling characters in the series. And it still managed to add a lot of new intrigue and mystery to the Upside Down, which is the main element of the series. We were all asking questions like, what is the Mind Flayer? How long has it been there? Why is the Upside Down a twisted clone of our world? Where were all these monsters in season 1? Is Barbara Holland the Mind Flayer? Wait, hold on. We're not a theory segment yet. That'll come in a little bit. My point being, the first 2 seasons, though they had their flaws, did an excellent job of creating a good and gripping mystery and balancing that with thoughtful and fun character moments, and tying it all up for a very satisfying conclusion. But that was all about to change in the summer of 2019, with the release of Season 3. Season 3 has got to be one of the worst seasons in television that I have personally ever watched, and one of the biggest failures to understand why a show had such a large audience to begin with. For starters, the cold open immediately reveals to us exactly what the human antagonists of the season are up to, and what their goal is. They're stereotypical 80s evil Russians who want to open up a portal to the evil Upside Down because they're evil. Did I mention they're evil? It fails, and they have to build a new laser to open up the gate, but for real this time. Something that none of our characters know, but within the first 8 minutes of turning on the show, we've already gotten to the bottom of the mystery. Contrast that with season 1. Sure, our first sequence of the series also involves the human antagonists of that season, that being the government scientists at Hawkins' lab, but we know nothing beyond the fact that they have pretty poor wiring for their lights and the world's slowest elevator door. Oh, and that something has gone horribly wrong. What that thing is, though, we don't fully understand yet. We don't even fully know this until episode 6 or 7. Instead, having the mystery fully revealed to us slowly over the course of several episodes through character discoveries and Eleven's flashbacks, allowing the audience to piece together the mysteries with the characters, making it all the more satisfying when all the pieces fall into place and everything is revealed. Season 3 has the very unfortunate problem of having almost everything revealed to the audience in the first episode. We know the gate is opening back up, the Mind Flayer has been reawakened, and thanks to the opening, we also know that the cartoonishly evil for no reason Russians are responsible. We also know that Billy has been attacked and possessed by the Mind Flayer. And what do our characters know? All they know is that there was a blackout and someone is broadcasting Russian phrases over a radio. Our characters don't solve either of these two mysteries until episode 4. Half of the season to this point has been wasted on waiting for these characters to learn what we already know. On top of that, a large portion of the runtime of the first 3 episodes is mostly dedicated to character drama. It's not even anything that helps move the plot forward or helps develop these characters anymore. If anything, it just serves to make all the characters that much more unlikable. Every character is so rude and aggressive towards one another in the first few episodes, and it's really hard to watch. This gives us a grand total of 2 episodes of trying to solve the mystery and come up with a plan to defeat the Flayer again. Because in this season, the big finale starts in episode 7. These last 2 episodes are nothing special either, being either a mixture of your typical big kaiju fight movies or really awful Terminator knockoffs. Now I know what you're thinking. That sounds horrible. Obviously, with a season that terrible, there must have been massive fan and critic backlash after the season released, right? Yeah, if only that's what happened. Fans and critics ate this garbage up, many claiming that it is the best that the show had to offer. People were mostly praising the character writing, drama, and humor. You heard me right. People were saying that the best part of the supernatural horror/thriller was the drama and humor. Don't get me wrong, it's fine to enjoy the character drama and humor in horror and thriller content, but if that's the best part of your horror series, I don't think you have your priorities straight. The show's writers clearly understood, at least at a very basic level, what they did wrong in season 3, even with the constant fan and critic praise, and the 4th season was a definite return to form for the series. But it's clear that the vocal fan base is only into the series for the basic drama and MCU-style humor, rather than the compelling mysteries and world building that made the show special in the first place. With very few actually invested in creative storytelling and exploring the mythos of the Upside Down and the world of Stranger Things. But don't worry, even the ones who are, they're not the sharpest tools in the shed. As mentioned before, Season 3 was very heavy-handed with its jokes and humor, a lot of it feeling very out of place for the tone of the series overall. The biggest culprit of this, in my opinion, is Hopper. In the first 2 seasons, we see him as a small-town cop who's been beaten down by life and loss, and is just over it. But he sees a shot at redemption in a chance to save Will, something he was unable to do with his daughter Sarah. And on top of all that, a second chance at raising a daughter, being 11, and maybe even opening back up to people again, for the first time since the loss of everything he knew. He's very serious and down to earth, but relaxed around the people he cares about. But come season 3, and good old Jim is just a big goofball, shrieking on the job, fumbling around what should be simple tasks for him, going into super cartoonish rage mode at any time someone minorly inconveniences him, and hopelessly flirting with Joyce, while simultaneously antagonizing Eleven for having a boyfriend. All of this feels blatantly ignorant of previous seasons. Characters weren't always super serious, and there were definitely jokes in there from time to time, but this season took things to a whole new and entirely unnecessary level. This season also introduced this super goofy Terminator knockoff that I talked about earlier, and oh my gosh, is it one of my least favorite aspects of this season. It leans so hard into wanting to be just a campy Terminator knockoff that it completely pulls me out of the story every time he comes on screen. A lot of stuff like this that the fanbase widely and actively praises, and even asks for more of, just further cements in my mind that these people don't even want a good show. They just want an SNL parody of 80s horror and action movies. But for those who do actually care about the mystery aspect of Stranger Things, well, those might just be our biggest offenders in this video. Where do I even start with this? There are so many mind-blowingly dumb theories out there. Apparently, everyone is the Mind Flayer. Murray has a kid. Vecna is Eleven's dad. Susie's family's behind it all. There's gonna be time travel. The Wheeler basement is apparently cursed. Yeah, just a heads up, a lot of this is completely unscripted, so forgive me in advance, but these are some of the best theories that the Stranger Things fan base has to offer. Murray's son theory. So I think I'm episode 4 of Stranger Things for Murray was like, okay, we're off to a great start. I still don't know who this is, in a playful way referring to Argyle. I think that Argyle is Murray's son, and he just saw him after hiding him from, so boom, Murray has a son, so it's confirmed. I'm just gonna move on from this one. Could Barb be the Mind Flayer? I have a theory. What if the shadow monster from Stranger Things is Barbara? There is not a lot of evidence, but then again, maybe more will be reviled in Stranger Things Season 3. So to start, spoilers for the series, we found out that in ST1, Eleven is telepathic. She can see into others' minds. We see this when she goes into the wired, dark area water. So if Barb was dead, how can Eleven see her? This points to Barb being at least somewhat alive. Next, one of the main plot points is that there are a lot of tunnels under the town. They are like roots branching out. But as we know, the producers love symbolism. For instance, they use the game Dig Dug throughout the second season to foreshadow the tunnels. But what if the roots are not from the upside down? What if they're to symbolize Barb's roots in this world? Admittedly, there is not much, there's not that much evidence for that. But why would they focus so much on Barb if they don't bring her back? Because you guys made such a fuss about it on Twitter, other than Nancy's character arch. But the one thing that can break this theory is that there are a lot of things that can break this theory. The show always uses D&D as a base, which is false. If the shadow monster, Mind Flayer, whatever, is like the Mind Flayer from D&D and comes from many other dimensions and is more ancient than anything we know, unlike Barb, this theory is busted. I think this theory is busted for a lot more reasons than that. Also, what would be its reasoning for wanting to destroy Hawkins if it was Barb, seeing Hawkins is her home? Even so, I think that this will be reviled again in Saw 3, seeing as we definitely have not seen the last of the shadow monster. P.S. This was my first, anything on this website, so tell me if I did everything okay. I hope you learned your lesson, seeing as this is 5 years old. I had a theory about Brenner. I think the Demogorgon at the 3rd season is Brenner. I was watching a highlight video on YouTube after watching Season 3, speculating about the American in the Russian cell. There's a theory that it's mostly likely Brenner or Hop. It can't be Murray. We saw him walk out of the mall. I've seen the Murray theory also. Brenner, however, was attacked, of course, at the end of Season 1 and was presumed dead. But when did he come across, did Russians break into the school and then, take Brenner and then he, transformed into a Demogorgon? But in Season 2 episode, The Lost Sister, the one that I said I wasn't going to talk about, I guess I'm breaking my rule, Eleven is haunted by her sister with images of Brenner, but also the employee of Hawkins' lab saying, I can take you to him, I know where he's at. The one episode alone gives you the insinuation that Brenner is alive. Yes, but if he was the Demogorgon in the Russian prison, then how in the world would this American get him there? Back to my theory about Brenner being the Demogorgon at the end of Season 3. This Demogorgon has a distinct feature that he's all white and almost human-like features. It's because they made a new model
for him. The VFX studio, they talked about they had to make a new model because the old one was just bad. It was only made to be seen in the dark, so they had to make a new high quality one. Compared to the previous ones, Brenner's trademark white hair, oh my gosh, are you serious? His hair? He doesn't have hair. The Demogorgon, look at it, it doesn't have hair. Just a brief comment on the Billy is Vecna theory, and one of my own. I know a lot of the folks are thinking Billy is Vecna, but I remember seeing something from the actor stating that he was not in season 4. I really think that he's dead and gone in the show, but then I had a thought. What if Brenner was Vex? Theory about Eddie Munson. Oh, there's a lot of these. There is a lot of these. I think in season 5, Vecna will revive Eddie. I have a theory about Eleven's father. Do you think Eleven's biological father could be Henry? I saw someone connecting the dots to this, and their theory is that I think it was Karen is also like related to Henry somehow, and that would make 11 and Mike cousins. So yeah, we're just gonna not look into that theory anymore. Theory, Joyce is 11. Oh, this is off to a wonderful start. What are the possibilities that implications if Joyce is 11 from the past / present / future? And where is she? How could she be 11 from the present? 11. And the forces of the Upside Down are after Will because he's El's son. Season 5 theory. After watching season 4, I'm convinced Max will be the big bad. What are all the reasons fans think time travel is a possibility? Theory. Murray Bauman is a double agent. This already doesn't make any sense, but let's see what they have to say. Murray Bauman could be a double agent in Stranger Things. Murray's staunch anti-government libertarian, but this could just be a cover for him being an agent for the Russians. Time travel in season 4. So the 4th season of Stranger Things is gonna have time travel involved. Does that mean they'll be bringing some characters who have oh, so this person just assumed the theories were right. Who have died, returning from the dead, and altering what they did. For example, Billy. Will the Duffer Brothers undo probably the biggest mistake they did in season 3? No, they're not gonna bring Billy back. Alright, here's another theory. I'm pretty sure that the board in Mike's basement is cursed like Jumanji, or something. So they're going to have to bring it out and use it to stop whatever is going on. I'm just surprised they haven't figured this out yet. They haven't figured it out because that's not the case. Now, to wrap this all up, Stranger Things is a standout piece of media that stands out for all the right reasons. It was a great show, well written, well directed, well shot, and just overall well executed. The fan base of the series, however, sticks out for all the wrong reasons, for being completely and utterly incompetent and just failing to understand what made the series they claim to love so special in the first place. Side note, I hope none of these people become screenwriters or we're all doomed. But that's gonna do it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I know this is a lot different than the style of video I normally do, but if you enjoyed it, please let me know, because this was a lot of fun to make and I'd love to keep making more content like this. And if you were a Stranger Things fan and you feel like you fit what I've described here today, I hope this is a wake-up call for you. But that's gonna do it for today, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.